evolution and blessing, unity with the L-O-V-E. Love is the solution, so set your love free with the L-O-V-E. Further evolution and blessed unity.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Self-Love Show. It's your co-host, Dawn Light, here with my beautiful co-host, Trish Wright. We have a great guest today, and I'm going to read her bio in a moment. But for those new viewers, we just want to say welcome. We're here weekly, 10 a.m. on Thursdays. And for those that don't know, we do have the Self-Love Show YouTube channel, which is super exciting. Please, please, please share the message, like, share, subscribe, because, it's growing and it's a great resource and tool to really explore self-love and all the facets of what self-love really is. So we just are so thankful to do the show weekly and to bring our love and support and tools and amazing information around expanding the awareness, right, of our loving essence. And so just wanted to share about the YouTube channel. Please go like, share, subscribe. There's tons of great shows on there from all the previous 2 years. Great guests, great information. You'll absolutely enjoy it. There's just some gems in there. And so really want to just, give a shout out to how blessed this has been to be doing this. And, I encourage you, anytime you have an issue or stuck, go explore in the YouTube channel, because there's a topic in there to serve you on what's going on possibly. And if you have something that is really on your heart that you're like, man, I wish they would do a show on this, reach out to us. Give us that feedback. We are so open to it. And without further ado, I'm going to announce our beautiful guest today. Khadíjih is here to share about the challenges she's experienced throughout her life. Examples are poverty, unstable home, anorexia, teen dropout, teen mom, dealing with abusive partners, deep shame, and a sense of not belonging, and eventually health issues. She will share how all of these seeming trials brought her to meditation and the journey with self-love. Powerful, right? So this is such an example of allowing our circumstances, our challenges to be blessings. So the tools she will share will be a guided meditation to relax the body and tune into the love of the heart. Meditation guide and intuitive mentor, Khadíjih Mitchell-Polka, has been a teacher and student for many years, formally studying in the areas of psychology, physics, mathematics, education, and yoga, and informally in mysticism, religion, spirituality, and various not yet widely accepted laws of the universe, including consciousness, coherence, and the law of attraction. Khadíjih guides individuals to reconnect with their mind, body, and spirit by embracing moments of stillness and honoring the inner work that is required for the personal path. So without further ado, welcome, Khadíjih. We're so grateful you're here today with us to have this authentic conversation on self-love.
Yeah, thank you. It's such an honor to be here with all of you and to see your beautiful, bright and shining faces. It's so lovely.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I was really appreciating about what you shared. Can you hear me, or am I glitchy? Okay.
I can hear you.
Okay, you should just give me a little ear thing if I'm okay. What I really love is that when our guests show up really authentic and true to their experience. And I also find it really powerful when we can share similar sort of experiences. I've also grew up in poverty. My parents were divorced, so I had one set of parents that was very impoverished, like lower middle class, or lower class. And then my other parents were middle class, which was it lives very oddly in my brain. Unstable home, abusive partnerships, lots of shame and not feeling like you belong. So that in the intersections is where we find a lot of places where it impacts our health, right? There's lots of studies that you can read all over the internet and all over, medical journals and psychological journals that really point to emotional health or yeah, your emotional mental health as being a key factor to physical health symptoms.
Mhm.
I'm just really grateful that you shared so vulnerably right up front to really call people in and to really touch that inner place in them.
Yeah, yeah, I really appreciate what you even just about like bringing up the shame, because I know for me in my own personal experience that like these senses of shame and feelings of not belonging and this feeling of just guilt that I wasn't this person that I should be really stemmed back all the way through to my childhood, right? So when I was really young and going through some very difficult and challenging times, um, and and I wanna precursor this because I think it's really important for me. Um, Growing up, it was chaotic in my house. My dad had, he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and he had, some various difficulties within him to just showing up in his own life. He was a stay-at-home dad and really wanted to be a writer. He was an aspiring writer, but he really never fulfilled his dream. He really was held back by his own fear. And something that I witnessed from my dad from a very young age, even though it was kind of like walking on eggshells sometimes, and I didn't really know what to expect. I always witnessed him, like, over the years of growing up, working on becoming a better father and working on becoming a better person in the world. And from that, I really learned how to, own that myself. And I just wanna say that because even though I know, like, it was unstable, there was a lot of anger and there was a lot of, sadness amongst me and my siblings. There were 8 of us, 6 kids. Um, there was a lot of good that came through seeing my father go through his own healing journey, um, along the way as well. Yeah, just wanna say that.
Hmm.
Mm,
Well, it's fascinating, our parents, even if it's super dysfunctional, each person does the best they can with what they're given. And
mhm,
if they are producing trauma, they don't have the awareness of it, is
yeah,
what's going on, right? And
right,
I can honestly say, in my history and background, also, I experienced varying degrees of trauma and shame as well. And can actually, currently, through navigating the pandemic and the major shifts, it showed up as symptoms in my body that I had to deal with, right?
mhm,
So I understand, what goes on with, like, how we deal with things and how we don't deal with things really
right,
create create a way of an opportunity to heal at some point.
right,
At some point, spirit will put us into creator, God, whatever you want to call the name for existence through us, will put us in a circumstance that we can't run from it any longer. Or,
right,
and it just is like, all right, it is time to lean into doing the inner work around what created this. What is this for me? And
yeah,
it's creating an opportunity for awakening. And so I understand what it's like to grow up in a childhood that's, walking on eggshells. I had that same core feeling with my own father, and everyone in the household felt it. We all, navigated around this very toxic person that, had toxic mindset and just any moment would explode. And it created this sense of like non-well-being for every other
right,
person and family member, and even extending out into the greater family unit beyond the nuclear unit. That's just how he related to himself and others. And so it's really fascinating how, as an adult, we carry unconsciously sometimes these patterns of relating, and that we get the opportunity in our adult years to really go back through and explore. Oh, wow, this behavior doesn't serve me any longer. I notice I keep doing this subtle people pleasing or subtle way of giving away my power where I know I shouldn't, and it's like you get better and better at leaning in and being curious around your behaviors and how you show up and how you're co-creating your existence with creator, and that you are fully 100% responsible for yourself and no one else, right?
Mhm.
That's empowerment. That is taking full ownership of your patterns and what goes on when you stop choosing to be a victim of your circumstance and seeing yourself in a victim role in any way. And really, where can I reclaim my power? Where can I make changes? Where can I love myself more? Where can I show up for myself more? And I notice I do this thing that's related to X, Y, and Z, right? From possible childhood conditioning. And it's my opportunity to shift this for good, right?
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of being an adult and getting to like explore, and I think we go through our whole adult years really re-examining what happened in our young years.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll give the floor over.
Yeah, that's just so eloquently said. I like that the what you said of just we spend our so much time in our adult years really re-examining, right, what happened when we were younger and being able to move through those moments. And I know that the last 10 years really have been a really intense healing journey because, healing from that unstable life, but then I really I picked up this other thing, right? So I grew up as a Bahai. So if you're not familiar with the Bahai faith, you know, um, it's another religion, another faith, and pioneered by Baha'u'llah. And so, if you're interested, you can look it up, somewhere. But so I grew up as a Baha'i, and my name is Arabic, and so I was this white girl living in a trailer park, very poor, with an Arabic name, and I had a faith that people couldn't relate to because they didn't know what it was, especially like in elementary school. And I remember feeling like I couldn't fit in or I didn't belong with any of the kids that I was around. Like it took me a while in my first few years of elementary school to really make friends. And when I did, I found the ones that were kind of, awkward and mirrored my like goofy nature. And I found them. But there were a lot of other kids on the outside of that, would call me lots of names and judge me for, being Baha'i, being vegetarian, like for having this name that they couldn't pronounce, and for just being different. And then of course, like, white trailer park trash, that was a word that was often used, just thrown around. And we were also vegetarian, and so there was so much wrong with me, right? Like the kids were like, there were just so many things that were wrong with me. And I took all that on and took it into myself as if these were really things that were wrong with me. And like really unconsciously, didn't really quite know that I had done that. It took me a long time to really even find things. And I mean, I'm still excavating and finding things.
Yeah.
And so, I coupling with that and the uncertainty in my home of, where the energy was going to be at, I really kind of became conflicted growing up because I had a very deep knowing of something beyond what I could see. I really believed in there being more than just the physical world around us. I could feel it. I've always been very intuitive, and when I was younger, I could pick up like really well on people's energy, and I would even tell, like my mom or somebody, like we can't trust that person, but my energy wasn't good enough evidence that was sometimes not listened to, and then some bad things would happen, and and then it would come back, and I would feel like, oh, I told you so. But then at the same time, discounting my own gifts because they had been, not heard as something that could be real. And so I kind of just really went through life very confused. And when I was about 12 years old, I had been dancing ballet for a few years. My grandfather had been, my mom pretty much worked at the first studio I ever went to just so I could go to be in ballet. And then my grandpa helped me. And my grandpa helped my mom. Yeah, I know. It was so beautiful. I mean, she would volunteer there and work just to make make payments. It was really beautiful that they would even let her do that. And she was just such a support. But in this process of being in dance, having these conflicting emotions, some things that happened and were said at home, I ended up at 12 years old with with the beginning of an eating disorder that then was pretty much, I excuse me, I really believed at that time that I wanted to be a ballerina, that was going to be my future. That was where I was heading. And the only way I could ever be a ballerina was if I was this stick thin, teeny tiny little girl. And I felt like my weight was always going to hold me off from that future. And so, and I found food to be the enemy. And so I slowly stopped eating. And I mean, I remember the first like 2 days that I went 2 full days without eating anything. I was in 7th grade and I had a choir concert and I got so sick. I almost fainted because I was so sick. And my dad had to pick me up from school and he took me home and I just laid in bed for the next 2 days. And I was like, what am I doing? But I still had this battling ego in me of, no, I had to make this work. I had to stop eating because it was the enemy. And so I slowly tailored my little, secret friend and made it work for the situations I was in and hid it really well. I hid it so well that even when I had, I was getting sick a lot and I was losing a lot of weight. And so my parents were taking me to the doctor and every 2 weeks I was getting my blood drawn. And the doctor was saying, are you eating? And I'm like, yeah. And anytime I would eat, I would do it in front of my parents. That was like the rule. I had to eat in front of my parents so that they would think I was eating. Or I'd eat and then I'd spit it into a napkin and I'd throw it away. So it would look like I was eating, but I wasn't. And anyway, so I'm going to the doctor and the doctor's like, okay, so you're eating. Well, it looks like you have like a hypoactive thyroid. So that could potentially make sense why you're losing a lot of weight. And so it was like this way out. I was like, I have an excuse. And so for the next 4 years, I just really went down that path and really threw myself into ballet. I ended up being, going to summer intensive and dance camps and being really, really thin. I was like around 87 to 90 pounds. And anytime I got over 100 pounds, I would just sit in the bathroom and cry and shame myself and shame my body for not being good enough, and I remember staring at myself in the mirror and just, calling myself ugly or whatever. Right. And like, at the time, it felt so real to me. It felt so real. It really felt like that was who I was.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then I finally ended up, I had some very close friends at the time and like a high school boyfriend. And they, I told them that I was anorexic. I came out to them that I wasn't eating. And ultimately this partner at the time told me I needed to tell my parents and that if I didn't, he was going to. And in truth, that probably saved my life.
Yeah.
It really probably did. And I do honor him and thank him for that.
Wow.
So I did, I was at a dance camp in Colorado at the Colorado School of Ballet. And I was there for only a week. And then I called my parents and I told them, and then something really strange flipped inside of me because I was like, oh no, like I've come out about this. I need to get as far away from everything in my life that resembles this world. And so I just started running from myself, like just really running. And I dropped out of high school. I, broke up with that boyfriend. I, moved out of my parents' house at 16. It was right around my 17th birthday when I moved out. And I just want to note that really isn't uncommon in a Bahai family, I think, for some Baha'is, because at the age of 15, you're considered an adult. So they saw me as an adult. They said, it's time for you to go on your own way. I wouldn't do that with my children, but it was what my path was for me. And so I moved out of my parents' home. I actually moved in with my brothers. We got a home together and lived there for about 6 months, just kind of giving you the gist of it before I decided I couldn't live with my brothers anymore either, because I just needed to be completely on my own and free. And I was still running. I was running to alcohol. I was running to drugs. I was running to sex. I was running to anything that I could to get as far away from the pain that I felt inside my heart.
Mhm.
And then a year later, the day after my 18th birthday, I found out I was pregnant. And that changed my life forever. Yeah. Like changed my life forever, because to me, there was no other option. I was going to have the baby. I was going to have, my daughter. And so then I was like, okay, I can't be doing drugs. I can't be drinking. I can't be doing these things that are bad for me. I need to get healthy. I need to help myself so that I can have this baby. But then I found myself preoccupied with building a relationship with my partner. I just want to pause there and yeah.
Well, I just want to say, wow, what a powerful story. Oh my goddess. Oh my goddess. What a journey you've been on. And how many of our viewers out here can relate? Like, truly, how many can relate to like teen pregnancy, moving out on your own, body shaming, anorexia, issues with eating, issues with feeling not good enough as a woman, and what we're told in culture, and it's like sex sales, so it's always portrayed that you have to be, if you're a beautiful woman, you have to look like the typical, right? And so this very core thing affects so many areas of life, regardless of your economic status. It affects us all, right, as women. And I just want to speak to that. And really, if our viewers are out there, put in the chat like, hey, me too, I've struggled with this some history of timeline. I mean, I can honestly say, like, I never was anorexic, but I definitely had body shaming going on at times in my life where I had a hard time accepting parts of my body and feeling like not good enough. I was definitely teased for my breast size in younger years, and it took me a long time to overcome how shameful, and like I just didn't feel like any of the other girls. Everybody else had these voluptuous breasts and I didn't at the time, and it was very hard for me as a young one. So, and I know Trish has had her own fair share of interesting journeys. Are you frozen or are you there? Yeah, there you are.
I'm right here.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Your story is so resonant to me. Growing up in a trailer park and being socialized as female gave me this idea that I had to be a certain way. And yeah, I'm just really resonant with your story. Like, what I want to bring up, I suppose, is what's coming up for me is this is how the social norms really harm us all. That the way beauty standards are impressed upon us, the way that like men being quote unquote like forced into this toxic form of masculinity, the way that women are supposed to be meek and behave, the way that our lives should be. You used the word that you weren't normal in high school and you were teased a lot. And I fully feel that, because I also wasn't very like social norm conforming. And that's how these norms, this is how sexism, this is how racism continue to perpetuate the system, perpetuate all of us, our culture and our families and our communities. So I'm just so grateful that you brought that up. Thank you.
Yeah. One thing I'm really grateful that I learned very much from my dad was this kind of like, in a way, stick it to the man attitude, like not really taking on that, but like not letting other people define who you're going to be. And while I did let the other people define who I was going to be. I also had a very outgoing personality of, no, I'm just going to like, get these tattoos and wear bright makeup and dye my hair funky colors and, do these things because I want to be who I'm here and who I'm here to be. And I felt like I had to, for a long time, and I felt like in order to protect myself, I had to make myself look really hard, like look really, uh, like I wasn't somebody that could be messed with. And so I really did go that route. Like just even, I don't want to go too far into this part of the story, just more out of respect for my children. But I ended up getting, I said I ended up getting pregnant, and my partner at the time, we just really weren't a compatible fit at all, and he didn't necessarily treat me very well, and so, but we stayed together for 3 or 4 years, and I ended up pregnant with my son as well. But I left that relationship really feeling like I had to protect myself in every instance of my life. Like I had to make it so no one could hurt me ever again. Like no one was ever going to take advantage of me. No one was going to hit me. No one was going to call me names. Like, or if they did call me names or say something, I was going to just be this like human shield that nothing would, yeah, exactly. Like nothing is going to get to me. And so that I really did, I put this facade on, like, just totally trying to put that up, like that boulder and barrier up. And that has been breaking that wall down has been this process over the last, like, really, for many years of just continuously diving back into what happened, feeling what happened, really surrendering it to the divine, to the universe, saying, I willingly let this go. I don't need to hold it anymore. Right. And it's been a really intense and challenging process, but through it, I've really found, I've been able to get through my eating disorder, and I'm not saying that I don't ever look in the mirror and have a little bit of still those old wounds that pop up. I'm still human, right? They still come, but when they come now, I can notice them as that, just that residual energy from the past. And I can say, oh no, I don't need to let this be the focus anymore. And then I can go back into my heart, into that space of love, and really work from there.
Beautiful. Yes, this is so important because, what you're speaking about is going back to those places where the trauma really occurred, right? And like, what did you identify with? Because it's always a deep misidentification that is formed when the trauma occurs that becomes our identity and barrier that we build against to protect ourselves, and a mask we wear in life in order to protect ourselves. So it shows up in these very inauthentic ways, and you can feel it occurring, but it's your protective barrier because you don't want to ever experience what you went through, right? Like I understand this so deeply because I did this too, in order to protect myself from the sheer abuse I endured, as I'm a child abuse survivor. And so I had to deeply learn just survival skills, true survival skills, and to pretend on the outside that like nothing was going on, because it was like, that's what it was all in my home. Like we had to look the part. We had to look like everything to everyone else. It was so important what we looked like on the outside, but it didn't matter if it was completely broken down and breaking down on the inside. Nobody needed to see that. It was like, keep it all together, And so all that had to go. Like, and I too, just like you, I too became the very rebellious. I dyed my hair every color. I got a tattoo. Like, I had to free myself from all the constructs of what they wanted me to be or I thought, because I was exploring myself. I was finding my own personal freedom and claiming my power through where I was constantly put in circumstances where my own individual rights and power were taken away. And so what a powerful journey we all have been on. And I know that this story resonates for our viewers out there, because here's the thing: everyone has experienced some form of trauma in their background or timeline. You know, every person, every walk of life experiences challenges, and it's what we do with those challenges and what do we form out of that challenge that makes our life the way it is, and is that a true identity that you need to keep living from? And there is an opportunity in it to free yourself, to really allow the authentic self in more, and that expanded self, because that's when we like learn to break down those false barriers that are put there to survive, right? Because that's our ego doing that to keep us safe. You know, as children, we form a belief set that's like, you know, I have to be invisible in order to survive, right? That was one of mine. If I just can be invisible and quiet, then nothing bad will happen. Like, you know, it's like if I could just be completely invisible, then no one will notice me and I won't get in trouble, right? That was a core way of relating, which kept me quiet, kept me, you know, subdued, I couldn't even speak up to like, hey, get anybody's attention, because I just didn't know how to do that, because I was taught to like sit down, shut up all my childhood. And so that, you know, that right there was a survival tactic built within to keep me surviving. But it, you know, as an adult, it just was a huge disservice and a huge barrier to my authentic love and sharing and expression. Like, I remember feeling like I could never get it out. And now look at me. Now look at where I'm at in my life, right? And this is the healed voice, because I've decided to go, just like you, go back through and excavate everything that was hard, everything that was, what did I make it mean? What did I believe about myself?
Yes.
Through all of that created this whole reality, you know. And it's like, it's mind-blowing. Bam, it just blows your mind when you get to the core of the stuff and you realize, holy cow, what it really, the core identification is. It changes your life forever. Like, I've witnessed clients just bawl when we've gotten to a really deep misidentification and they let it go, and watch like how a few months later after their life, you know, talking to them and watching the changes and watching them rise to their authentic self with more freedom and expression and gratitude and living their best life, because they've let go. They've let go of the preconceived barriers and notions that they have to live in based on what happened.
Gosh, this is such a powerful call, such a real, raw, honest conversation. I was just really resonating with. I love when you have, you know, shared experiences. I think that it's important, because it's important for me. It's not that I need validation for my experience, but I feel like, you know, oh, we're all having similar experiences, meaning that we all don't have to do the work alone. Yeah. And I think that's really, really powerful. It was in my abusive relationship where I was I was emotionally abusive and he was emotionally and physically abusive. And it was in that place that it was touching such core wounding of my childhood. Like, that's the place where I started to understand what work I needed to do. It was from that place just a few years ago, even, that I was like, oh my God, I'm making myself the victim. B, I'm also that person that was being harmful. And why did I allow this to happen? Why did I magnetize that? One of my ex's friends or ex-girlfriends calls me up one day and was like, you know, now it's your job to figure out why you allowed that to happen. That's the seeds of where that looks like for you. Who were you that allowed that to happen? And I was like, oh my God, it was like such a wild call out that I was like, kind of like shook about it. I was like, ouch. And it was one of the best call outs I could have ever gotten, because it is now to the place where I have I've literally sifted through the childhood experiences and beliefs Because what happens in your childhood is that you are, between the ages of 3 to 7, you're creating your identity. But before 3, you've already understood how to communicate and effectively get your needs met from other people. So you're already understanding how dynamics work. So up until this point, you've already created an identity, a personality, and an ego in the world. So from that place, remember, you're from 1 to 7 years old, which it means that it's called magical thinking. Children don't really have a grasp on the world. And so just think about how you're continuing to live out beliefs that you created between the years of 0 to 7. Like, this is how this kind of like this patterning gets into place. And then we start to, work into our teenage years. And from there, it's that juicy, oh, this is who I want to be. And you either rebel or move towards the thing that was happening. And when you start to look back sometime in your 20s, generally it happens in your 20s, you just hit the mark way faster. Generally in your 20s, you start to really like take a step back. That's when that, the spiritual community calls it your Saturn return. So you just get to look at the patterning that you've created it. So I was able to look back from that place and start to dissolve some of those beliefs and start to see how I conditioned myself, what I did to contort to get my needs met, how I chose to do that. And then now I'm deepening that work, and I'm in a societal macro level of how and why I thought that was even okay to do those things, to manipulate in the ways that I have, to present even the way that I did. It was, this decolonization work, I didn't share this with you before, but the decolonization work is really deep for me because I'm really understanding some of the symptoms that aren't my family. And one of the pieces that in my client work recently, he got down to a place of how his whole family was codependent, how he was codependent, and how he contorted himself, or how he silenced his true authentic being. And then I was like, well, that's a lot of people. Many people. Unless you've chosen to be a cycle breaker or a rebel like Dawn and Khadíjih, that unless you were like that, if that's how you chose your safety, then that's one way of doing it. But some of us were like, I just want to be normal and be safe that way because that's what I'm told to do. And I really resonated with you about the abuse part, is like dissolving the belief system or unraveling that is a huge thing.
Uh-oh. Frozen.
Doesn't actually like very violently in pain anymore come up for me. And maybe this is experiences as well. It doesn't stir up a lot of stuff. Yeah, that happened. What happens is like there's aspects of like my right, all of my rights, me specifically have masculine, like my dad recently, and my knee is like I have a knee off the hook right now. Yeah, it's all the right side. So it's a long rant.
No, it's great. I mean, you froze a bit at the end, but I feel like I caught that part. And it is really interesting because like while I had this very rebellious nature, it was really, like I said, a facade, and I was just trying to run away from that pain right inside, like that you're talking about. And it really was in my 20s, like that Saturn return, when I went back to school. I got my GED. I ended up in the physics department at New Mexico State University in Las Cruces, New Mexico. And I met an amazing group of people. And one of my best friends, my soul sister, I'm going to cry because I always do when I think about how amazing she is to me, because she really, she mirrored the things that I had always believed in life, like that, like there's something more there. We have more power than we give ourselves, like, and also just this, there was something in her and I that just clicked immediately. That person that when you talk to them the first time, and you're best friends forever. Yeah. And so she just, yeah. and and she just really, I think I owe her a lot of gratitude because she brought me on that pathway back to myself, back to really beginning that trek of self-love, yeah, because feeling when you have somebody that, like you were saying, shared experiences, right? People resonate when they can resonate with your experiences. Well, she just really, there was something so magnetizing about our friendship, and she mirrored so much of this back to me. But it was also just made me feel safe to be myself, to really have my beliefs, and um, it felt okay finally to be me. And for the first time in years, I felt like I belonged somewhere. Like in that physics department, I felt like I belonged there. Like the people that were there, yeah, like they really helped me feel like I belonged. And I was like, oh, it's just because I'm really weird and physicists are really weird. And that was kind of what we would say, and I was like, and then I was like, oh, and it's just because the department's full of a lot of Germans and I'm partially German. So I was like making all these excuses for why it was that I belonged there. But really it was that they just accepted me and I felt accepted, and I felt like even if people didn't agree, they would listen. And, maybe not all the time with my professors and stuff because they were teachers. So, but I had a lot of really good teachers and professors there. But anyway, that was really this first breakthrough moment in my life. It was the first time I learned about the law of attraction. I was in quantum mechanics at the time, and and I saw the movie The Secret, which, I'm sure you both have seen it. It definitely gives a different spin on things. But I saw this movie and I was taking quantum mechanics and I was like, oh, this is the secret to life. This is the secret to the universe. Like I was like, I was like, oh, so I have way more control than I think I do. And I went to school the next day. It was so funny because I went to the university and I'm telling all my friends about the secret, and like, oh, all we have to do is really just focus on our thoughts and use our thoughts this way and that way. And like a lot of my friends are just like, oh, that's just DJ being DJ, because everyone called me DJ, and they just like, okay, whatever, laugh it off and let me be me. And they don't tell me I'm wrong or tell me like, no, that's not possible. They really didn't. They just like were like, okay, you be you, you have fun with that. And I was like, no, I'm going to prove it to you. And like I would do these little tests of manifestation and whatnot. But at the same time, there was a part of me that was still really trying to run away from what I was feeling, and blocking it, like, just, no, I'm not ready to feel that and not ready to heal it. And so I graduated from that school. I met my partner, who is now my husband. We've been together for almost 7 years. Yeah, it's really awesome. And we moved away. We moved to a town 3 hours north of where we were. And it was the first time I really felt like I was in a stable relationship, because before I had been just running from relationship to relationship, really like afraid of committing to anybody, afraid of committing to love, afraid of getting my heart broken again, because when I did commit to love, I got my heart broken. So how could I do that again? But this was the first time we moved in together, and when you move in with somebody, it's a whole different experience. And our energy fields meshed and blended together, and he is a very calm person, and at the time he was much calmer than I was, like much more calm than I was. I was very like high strung and very anxious all the time, constantly feeling like on edge, like I was just gonna, like I was just gonna be explode or something. But being in that home environment with his calm energy and just him as a person, he really, it opened up this doorway and this space for me just to feel held and like I could finally heal. Because instead of, I was taking care of my kids, of course, and I'm a partner, so I was taking care of him too. But I also felt like I was being taken care of, and that really let me heal a lot. And I went through a lot of healing in that first couple years away from home, and I had a lot of stuff surface from childhood. I had a memory from I was actually teaching at a high school, um, and while I was teaching at this high school, I was really dealing with daily panic attacks and daily anxiety attacks because the school it was a great school, but there were some protocols I couldn't get on board with, and I couldn't make kids do certain things they wanted me to make kids do. It felt like I was being a court martial. I didn't like that. It was not my thing, and I didn't want to treat people that way. And there was nothing wrong with what they were doing. It just was triggering an old wound within me and from things that I had maybe experienced. But anyway, it brought up a memory. It was so strange that this is how it came through, but it did. It brought up a memory of me being molested when I was younger by a family friend, and there was pictures and things involved in it and everything. And I had already known that had happened. It had resurfaced many years before. I had known that, but I had just stuffed it down there. I was like, no, that's not something I'm going to deal with or work with at all. And so, but I was in that home environment. And so it was like, just like, oh, nope, that's going to come up. It's going to come up. You're going to feel this. You're going to experience it. And it was really the first time I found my pathway into presence, into the present moment. I found Eckhart Tolle in his book, The Power of Now. And I also found, Gabrielle Bernstein's And the Universe Has Your Back and Spirit Junkie and all the books she had at that time. And I just was listening to them, and listening to Eckhart Tolle's book every day when I drove to work and every day when I drove home. And there was something so deeply healing about realizing that I was putting all my power and attention in the past, and I was letting that past become what I was going to perceive in the future. And if I could just come here right now, like if I could just get to be here, then I would feel okay. And so I worked with myself like every day throughout the rest of the school year to just be present in what I was doing, to just be present there at the school with my students. And it really elicited some healing. But I just want to pause there. I mean, if I could go on, but I just want to pause and see. Yeah.
I'm just catching up my videos crazy.
Practicing the art of presence is everything, right? Because what you're saying is so valuable, being linked to the past, right? Like digging up the stuff from the past clears it out. It stops when we let go of those things that are hijacking our mind and causing panic attacks, anxiety, all the things, then we are able to reside in the present.
Yeah.
Much more. There's so much more expandedness available to just be fully present here in the now, because this is all we really have is the now, and so I love that you bring that forward, and I just am so excited to have you guide us in the present and presence, and experience the presencing together, so how would you feel about moving into maybe some centering and meditation that you would like?
Yeah. I want to just briefly share one thing about how I even came into my meditation journey, right, and where I found meditation. And so I've spoken a lot about this time of running away. And so I did that for many years. And even though I was in the healing relationship, I was still running. And I found myself in a PhD program that really elicited a lot of my traumas and the things that I had gone through. And I came to a point where I knew that the way I was living was no longer an option, and that I absolutely had to make a change if I wanted to really be the mother that I wanted to be, the partner that I wanted to be, the person. And so I prayed to the universe. It was in a very deep, dark night of the soul, praying and just asking for guidance and what to do. And as the universe always does, when you ask, it delivers. And it brought me to my journey with meditation. And it started with a 21-day journey with Deepak Chopra that I did on rerun for quite a while before I branched off into other things. And then I found Joe Dispenza, and I just love his meditations, and I do his quite often. But in this journey with meditation, I finally found that space where I could really heal, because I was getting out of the past and I was getting out of the future, and I was bringing myself into my body and letting myself just relax and be with what was there, so that then the energy could move out, so then the energy could leave. And so through that journey, I really found my own personal gift in leading and guiding meditations. And it's something I am so grateful to be able to do, and I have so much joy in doing it. And I really believe that meditation can help a lot of people. And I think it's one of the foundations to any spiritual practice or any healing practice. And so I'm honored to be here with you today and to get to guide you through a little meditation. I'm just going to take a sip of water and then we'll begin. And as I prepare myself, I just want to invite you to go ahead and let yourself just be in a comfortable space. You can sit down, you can lay down, whatever really works best for you. I do suggest that if you're new to meditation, if you maybe haven't ever really done any sort of meditation, maybe sit somewhere where you can lean against something and you have support for your head, because I'm going to continuously ask you to breathe a little bit deeper and slower. And when we breathe deeper and slower than what we normally do, this kind of changes the chemistry of our body and can make us a little lightheaded. And it's actually it's a good thing. We're getting more oxygen to our body, and it's actually really good for us. But it just having that support system is really important. So as I prepare myself for the meditation, I'm going to invite you to go ahead and just prepare yourself in that comfortable space. So let's go ahead and just drop in together. At this time, I'd like to invite you to go ahead and gently close your eyes, bringing your focus to your inner world and to inside your body. And gently begin allowing your breath to become just a little deeper, slower, and softer than the way in which you normally breathe. With each deep breath in, feeling the expansion of your belly, and then as you breathe out, letting your body just gently relax and let go into this moment right here. Inviting each breath to be just a little slower than the last. And even allowing the exhales to extend out just a little longer than the inhales. Feeling present with your breath. Feeling present in your body. And feeling present in this moment right here. With each deep breath, letting your body relax and surrender just a little more. embracing the feeling of ease and safety that comes along as you breathe. Feeling held here in this moment. Feeling cared for in this moment. And trusting that all is well and that you are safe and everything is going to be more than okay. Still breathing deep and slow, still letting your body relax and let go. I invite you to bring this deep breath into your heart space. It's sacred space in the center of your chest. Bringing this breath into this area of your body and feeling your heart expand as you breathe. Letting go and releasing anything that is not serving you at this time. Once again, allowing that breath into the heart to be just a little deeper and slower than what you're used to. And inviting that exhale to extend out just a little longer than the inhale. Fully embracing and allowing this feeling of relaxation, the feeling of calm and ease to wash over your entire body and beautiful being. Feeling safe in your heart, feeling held in your heart, and letting go and surrendering to the unconditional love, divine peace that is showering over you now. Letting any tension or discomfort in your body melt away as you breathe. Letting any discomfort or one unwanted emotion melt away as you bring this breath into your beating heart. Feeling safe, feeling held, feeling cared for in your breath, in your body, in your beautiful heart. Feeling your muscles relax and all the tension dissolve. Letting go and releasing any gripping or holding anything you're holding on to. Still breathing deep. Still breathing slow. And still letting your body relax as you continuously let go. Feeling nourished in this moment with your heart. Feeling taken care of in this moment with your heart. Feeling peace for where you are in this moment with your beautiful heart. And letting your breath just let go and take on whatever natural rhythm feels the best to you at this time. And gently begin calling your attention and your awareness back to the room or the physical space in which you're in. Bringing very gentle movements to your fingers and toes, integrating this relaxing and divine energy of love through all the particles and cells in your body as you move. And waking the body back up to this time and space. And then as you feel ready, and as you feel called, you may gently open your eyes and return to this space.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was lovely at every level. Thank you. Felt very nourishing. Just your voice is so soothing.
Thank you, Dawn. Yeah, I think it's one of my favorite gifts that the divine gave me and brought me here with.
Yeah.
Well, if you enjoyed that, do you have something you might want to share?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, I'm currently hosting a free 7-day challenge. We're on day 4 of this challenge this week, and it's an introduction to meditation. It's really an opportunity to return to some basic meditation principles and foundations. And it doesn't matter if you didn't join it, we're on day 4. It doesn't matter. You can start at day 1. All the meditations from the past few days are uploaded on YouTube. And you'll find them you'll find day 1 directly on the front page of my YouTube, just pinned there. So you can just start right away. If you would like to come into the rest of the challenge and receive the other goodies that are along with that, then you can visit my link tree, which I believe Trish and Dawn have the links for. You can visit my link tree, and that at the very top of that, it'll say register for the 7-day challenge, and then you'll get all the other information you need to get those other materials. And then beyond that, on March 7th, I will be starting what I'm calling the Journey Within. It's a deep dive into your inner world, and it's a 22-day long, really deep journey into that space of self-love and self-care, into the excavation of letting go and releasing and really finding what's beneath the old conditioning and patterns to find that true self that's there. And so that'll be starting on March 7th. And every day there will be a pre-recorded meditation along with a daily practice and some affirmations and some other stuff. And then once a week, we'll get together. So there will be 4 in total. We'll get together and I'll have a live mentoring call where we'll talk and I'll give, a little more tools, and it'll be an opportunity for the participants to really share what they're moving through. Because just as we've been doing here today, I think that sharing and that power of vulnerability is so important to our healing, because we're stating to the universe what we're letting go of and what we're letting in. So I'll have that. And then on top of that, you can check out my Linktree. I have a bunch of other offerings that I'm doing consistently. A lot of them are free, but I also do intuitive mentoring for those who want to go really deep. And that's a 3 to 6 month program with me where we really work together to do that healing, to let things go and to really begin living that life that you really, really know you are here to live. Yeah.
And I'd just like to point out that your business name, where you can find her on YouTube and in her Linktree, is Journey into the Soul.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for being here. That was phenomenal. Great conversation and totally heart-centered opening. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
We appreciate your love and energy and your light today. Such a gift to the world. And everything that you've been through has led you to this powerful point of serving others. And I really praise you and acknowledge you for that, because that's everything, right? Taking our challenges and turning it into gold for serving and giving and being in the loving. And every soul has the opportunity to do this in their life. And you're a shining example of that. And, Trish and I are a shining example as well. And it just feels so freaking good to celebrate that. Like, it's worth it. It's worth to climb that mountain in our own life, whatever that mountain may be, and just stay dedicated, and you're a shining example of that dedication or inner knowing that, there's always something more leading me forward. Right. And to lean in and trust that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you both so much for having me. It's been such an honor. It's been wonderful to meet you both. I'm just so excited. I feel like, oh, more soul sisters, like just so
Yes.
good. And so I just am really very grateful to have been able to be here with you today.
Of course. We're so excited to support your journey and your beautiful work in the world. And yes. Yay.
Yeah.
And for those that are curious and interested, there's a beautiful Facebook group I would love to invite you into. It's called Reclaim Your Trust. And it's a place where, it's for women. And if you're, identifying as beautiful woman given that body, then and you've had issues in your life with trust and trusting men, trusting other women, it plays out the sister wound, the father wound, the mother wound, all kinds of ways, right? And the core of it can really show up as trust issues. And so that's really comes down to trusting ourselves and the divine, right? Creator of all that is. And so it's really an opportunity to be supported here and really be seen here and held here. And so that's why this group exists, is to just really give a greater expansion of love and a container to support us all in this journey. So please come on in and join us. We would love to have you there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd really like to give a big shout out to Scott, who's still with us.
Yes.
And Love Cooking Company, Global Peace Tribe, and Sign Network for really supporting us and sharing us out. And that is how you can continue to support us. If that's what you want to do, is share us out and like us and subscribe, and just send your love this way. So we will see you next week.
Mm.
Yay. See you next week. Mwah.